Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen in the room and online. Thank you for your attention to our event today. My name is Khaldun Azhari. I'm former president of this club and member of PAC, Professional Activities Committee that organize such press conferences. I'm honored to introduce our guest today who will speak about the arms trade, especially by Japan. We all know that the global war market is flourishing, has been flourishing all the times, and countries that provide arms are in business for decades. And we know that Japan established a very human, we think, law. It's like the 1967 Japan arms export ban that prohibited the exports of weapons or parts to communist countries and countries involved in wars. But it seems that this ban is going to finish or is not as strong as it's supposed to be, according to our speakers, who will tell us more about this issue. We will start with our speaker online, Ms. Olena Yurchenko. She is the senior analyst at the Economic Security Council of Ukraine. She will speak from Ukraine online through Zoom. And then to my right, Mr. Koji Sugihara. He is representative of Network Against Japan Arms Trade, or NAJAT. And to my very right is Mr. Takaki Imai. He is president of Japan's International Volunteer Center. They will speak about half an hour or less, 10 minutes each, and then we will have a session of Q&A. Please go ahead. Ms. Elena, please go ahead. Thank you.
Distinguished speakers and participants, thank you very much for having me in this event. Today I represent the Economic Security Council of Ukraine, a Ukrainian non-governmental organization which is involved in the investigation of cases of sanctions violation and export control violations. Today, I'm here to speak about the Japanese technologies which find their way to the Russian Federation and assisted in aggression and invasive policies against its neighbors, Ukraine included. The importance of this topic is because this is not the technology or the weaponry itself. Rather, this is something which facilitates its production, and then in its turn, the products, the bitter products of how Russia uses these technologies, they have the emanation on the battlefield and in other parts of the world. So let me start with the presentation of the technology I am talking about. This is CNC machine tools, computer numerically controlled tools, which are the bedrock of industrialization and production around the world for the last 40 years. These machines are automated, robotic, and apart from automation of process, they offer various benefits to their users, including repeatability of process, extreme precision and accuracy of material processing, and of course, larger scale of production. CNC machine, however, is an extremely rare animal in terms of who actually can produce it. And Germany and Japan are the two undisputed leaders in the world, which have the best production capacities and international reputation for producing the best and the brightest CNC machine tools in the whole world. CNC machines can be used for various purposes, but to put it simply, if you are an arms dealer, a country which is renowned for arms trading or arms production, like Russia, you cannot produce a single piece of weaponry without a CNC machine tool. But to make it more specific, we are talking about missile parts, drone parts, critical microelectronics, printed microbot circuits, weapon house, etc. Given the described above, CNC machine tools are therefore classified as dual-use goods. However, there are many deficiencies and problems with this system, which allow countries like Russia to import these technologies almost unimpeded and to use it to their avail, not necessarily benevolent one. In this respect, one must know that Russia is one of the main importers of CNC technologies in the world. Russian dependency on these products is amounted up to 70% of their total demand. And in terms of components, the share of imported goods would be between 80 and 95%. The problem is precisely that Russia cannot produce these technologies itself because it's very costly and expensive effort to try to do this yourself, especially given the tumultuous economic and political climate. However, in the majority of cases, the problem has been solved because the Western and Western allied producers always were ready to step up and provide these technologies. The main issue there is not only the Russian import dependency, but the fact that between 70 and 80% of all CNC machines in Russia are used by the military and industrial complex. This is a very big problem because given the fact that it is branded as dual-use goods, there is also always a degree of certain admissibility that allows Russians to hide the end customers and to evade the existing export control restrictions in order to obtain these technologies, although the sole and the main user of these technologies would be military and industrial complex, which is especially innovating given the fact that Russian foreign policy is very disruptive and aggressive. This issue persists in the international relations and in the ongoing deterrence of Russian aggression against Ukraine, mainly because of three factors. These are export control deficiencies, grey import and sanctions evasion, and lenient compliance by CNC producers. When it comes to export control deficiencies, this is the global problem, but Japan, out of all countries controlling for these kinds of goods, presents more promising examples if we compare it with the United States or Germany. But the problem is that with CNC machine tools, not all of them are covered by the export control, and it allows for admissibility of certain transactions by the pariahs in international relations like Russia. The second issue is the continued grey import of CNC machine tools and their components to Russia. Here I calculated the total figure of Japanese CNC machines and components which were supplied to Russia since February 2022. You see, this is $125 million, which is quite a striking figure. Yet at the same time, for the market as a whole, the total value of foreign CNC machines, regardless of whether they are Japanese, German, or South Korean, for instance, the total value would be $13.9 billion, which is yet again a striking figure given the fact how important these technologies are for the Russian weaponry production. The grey import continues mainly through the third jurisdictions, mainly China and Turkey or post-Soviet space. In the Japanese case, they find their way to Russia through South Korea, or Taiwan or other neighboring countries. And finally, the problem is with the lenient compliance practices by the CNC producers. One of them would be DMG Mori company, which is a German-Japanese company created through the merger of the German Deckelmacher and Japanese Moriseiki in 2015. Probably the only foreign company which produces CNC and decided to localize production in Russia back in 2015. Although the company promised to terminate relations with Russian clients and stop operation of the representative offices in the Russian Federation, despite these statements by the company, its Russian subsidiary continued to trade with Russian clients, including those belonging to military and industrial complex. And DMG Mori's CNC machine tools ultimately found their way to the sanctioned Russian enterprise Promtech Dubna, which is now very much involved in the rearmament of the Russian army. So what is to be done with this? Our organization suggests a broad set of recommendations, both for governments and for CNC manufacturers. But for now, the main issue is raising general understanding and awareness regarding the topic, because it is incredibly complex. It's not so obvious compared to microelectronics or weapons themselves. As I mentioned before, the problem is that this is a dual-use good, and swans and plague come from the same god, so you can produce both medical equipment and weaponry in this. But in this particular Russian context, it is used mainly to produce weapons. And the issue is that not only those technologies which are under export control, but also less precise CNC machine tools are still used by Russians to produce weapons. So our recommendations concentrate on strengthening and expanding export control, including new legislative standards for compliance practices for manufacturers, and regularly and systematically target intermediaries and procurement companies which supply CNC machine tools to countries like Russia, Iran, North Korea. Because this is not only the Russian problem. I am convinced if you look at the Iranian or North Korean cases, in all these instances, the situation will be the same. If you want to ramp up your military production or embark on some ambitious nuclear programs, you would still need a CNC machine tool. Thank you so much for listening to me. On the slide, you can see the contacts. You can reach out to me, but if you need, you can also reach out to me via the general emails of the Economic Security Council of Ukraine. And I'm ready to answer your questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Olena-san. We move to Mr. Sugihara, please.
こんにちは、杉原浩二と言います。今のお話を受けて、日本はですね、今までも例えばパナソニックの頑丈なノートパソコンであるタフブックが米軍の中東での軍事作戦で使用されたり、あるいは原子力潜水艦に組み込まれたりしてきました。タフブック、ノートパソコン。
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Koji Sugihara. Based on the presentation we just heard, I'd like to add to it the fact that Japan's Note PC, specifically Panasonic's Toughbook, is being used in warfare in the Middle East by U.S. Forces, as well as being incorporated into nuclear submarines.
で、いわゆる友好国向けのそうした民生品の軍事転用も含めて、先ほどのロシアのケースも含めて、もっと経産省は輸出管理をき 規制強化すべきだと思います。
It is my position that the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry should strengthen its export control system for dual-use products like the product that was just mentioned.
で加えてロシアについて言えば、いまだにサハリンの天然ガスの輸入を日本は止めていません。これについても戦争の資金源になっているわけですから、やっぱり止める必要があると思います。
Specifically with respect to Russia, it is a fact that Japan is yet to ban import of natural gas from the Saharan region, Far East Russia, which then is funding Russia's war efforts, and therefore that import must be stopped as well.
日本はこうした民生品の軍事転用だけではなく、いわゆる殺傷武器の輸出をこの年内に解禁しようとしています。
On top of, in addition to conversion of dual-use products from civilian use to military use, Japan is also attempting to lift the ban on lethal exports of lethal weapons as well.
しかも、かつて憲法9条の理念を反映させた国是、国の大原則となってきたものをですね、わずか12人の自民党、公明党の議員で覆すことを方向づけようとしています。これは独裁的なやり方であり、認められません。
It is also a fact that the national mandate enshrined in Article 9 as a principle is in the situation of being overturned, or is in the direction of being overturned by only 12 individuals who are part of the LDP and Komeito. This is a form of dictatorship and should not be permissible.
この殺傷武器の輸出のですね、大きな目玉になっているのが、日本とイギリスとイタリアによる次期戦闘機の共同開発です。
Another or major showcase of a lethal weapon in this context is the next generation fighter jet scheduled to be co-developed, jointly developed between Japan, the UK, and Italy.
かつてイギリスとイタリアなどが共同開発した戦闘機ユーロファイターがイギリスによってサウジアラビアに輸出され、サウジアラビアはそれを用いてイエメンの内戦で無差別空爆をして民間人を多数殺傷しました。
Previously, the Eurofighter, which was developed by the UK and Italy, this was then exported by the UK to Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia in turn deployed the Eurofighters to the conflict in Yemen, which was then used to indiscriminately bombard the region, leading to much civilian death.
2035年に完成するとされるこの次期戦闘機も同様に第三国への輸出が認められれば、こうした無差別空爆、例えば今ガザで起きているような米軍の戦闘機が多くの人たちを殺していますけれども、こうした事態が同様に引き起こされる可能性が高いと危惧しています。
The next generation fighter jet is scheduled to be completed in 2035. If that fighter jet is then exported to a third country in a similar vein, my concern is that it will be used to bombard the region indiscriminately, just as the U.S. fighter jets used to do so in Gaza as we speak.
こうした戦争犯罪につながる武器開発を今の段階でやっぱり止める、中止させるということが日本の市民にとっての平和に向けた大きな課題だと思っています。
A major challenge for Japan's civil society towards peace is to ban such weapons that are potentially used to cause war crimes.
日本は、
Right, that time is now.
日本は徹底して非軍事で世界の気候危機や災害や貧困やあるいは難民問題、さまざまな課題に徹底して非軍事で貢献すべきだと思います。
Japan should rigorously pursue a non-military approach to contribute to issues such as climate change, disaster relief, poverty reduction, and refugee protection.
そして今まさにガザのジェノサイドに日本がどう対応するかということが試金石であって、いまだに日本は国際人道法、この大虐殺を国際人道法違反だと認めていませんし、停戦も求めていません。それを、
そこで止めていただけますか。The genocide that we are observing, that we are seeing in Gaza, is a testing stone for Japan's position on that situation. Japan is yet to acknowledge that crisis as an international humanitarian law violation. Japan is yet to ask for a ceasefire.
日本の市民として戦争犯罪を政府に認めさせ、停戦を求めさせるということが大きな責任だと思っています。以上です。
It is the duty of Japan's civil society to hold the government accountable, to ask for a ceasefire and to put a stop to war crimes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. My name is Takaki Imai, President of Japan International Volunteer Center. We are an NGO working in the field of humanitarian and development assistance and peace building as well in 6 countries in Asia, Middle East, and Africa. Let me start my presentation. Today, I would like to inform you about the issue of Japanese new military aid framework, which is called Official Security Assistance, OSA. Based on the new national security strategy approved by the cabinet last December, Japanese government officially announced the introduction of this OSA in April. The government said, apart from ODA, which aims for the economic and social development of developing countries, OSA aims at enhancing the security and deterrence capabilities of like-minded countries and provides defense and military equipment as well as infrastructures to the armed forces of those countries. Sorry. Just a moment. I'm sorry, just a moment. PowerPoint が閉じちゃってましたね。ごめんなさいね。これですかね。そうですね。そうです。 Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. NGO No-War Network, as a network composed of more than 30 Japanese NGOs, issued a statement about OSA in June. The title of this statement is, "We strongly oppose OSA, a military aid that denies Japan's non-military principles in international cooperation." There are 4 reasons to oppose OSA. Number 1, the abandonment of our non-military principles and loss of trust as a peace-loving nation. As a peace-loving nation which has Article 9 of its constitution, Japan has maintained non-military principle on international cooperation, prohibiting any assistance to armed forces. This principle has formed Japan's peace brand, and it has been a source of trust for Japan from many countries. For Japanese NGOs, which operate in various countries, this trust towards Japan has helped us and sometimes has protected us, especially in the conflict areas. We think OSA may destroy that trust and give a negative impact to our operation. Also, we are seriously concerned that the weapons given by Japan will be used in international and civil conflicts or used for operation of residents in the recipient countries. And number 2, the contribution to the great power struggle and escalation of international tensions. And number 3, aid in support of the Japanese military industry. As OSA is a grant aid scheme, the weapons which may be manufactured by Japanese military industry will be given to the recipient countries, and the Japanese government will make payments to those companies. It will definitely support the Japanese military industry. And number 4, no debate in the parliament and no oversight in the future. Although the introduction of OSA is an enormous shift of Japan's security strategy, the decision was made in the National Security Committee in the cabinet without any discussion or any consultation in the national parliament. Also, it will be difficult to oversee the implementation of OSA in the future, since it will be easy for the government to say that OSA implementation cannot be disclosed due to military secrets. We NGOs call for the Japanese government to stop OSA so that Japan will maintain its international cooperation on its non-military principles. As a peace-loving nation, Japan should pursue international harmony and prioritize international assistance that promotes social and economic development. In this 2023 fiscal year, the budget of OSA is 2 billion yen. The candidate countries are Philippines, Malaysia, Fiji, and Bangladesh. So one of the parliament members of the ruling party said, "Give birth to small and grow up big." Then the next fiscal year of 2024, the budget of OSA will double, 5 billion yen. According to the Japanese media, the candidate countries would be Philippines, Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, Vietnam, Mongolia, and Djibouti. And possible applications would be satellite communication systems, radio systems, drones, security vessels, etc. Also, military infrastructure such as naval ports, airports will be available. OSA will be implemented within the framework of the 3 principles on transfer of defense equipment and technology. So which means if the ban of lethal weapons is lifted, so those lethal weapons can be included in OSA. For fiscal year 2023, so this year, OSA has been already agreed with Philippines and Bangladesh. So that is the current situation. So we are strongly oppose this OSA. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentations. We would like to open the floor to Q&A, and if you have any question, please raise your hand and proceed to the front mic. Who would like to take the first question in the room? Yes, please.
Nishimura, freelance. Thank you very much for presentation. I have a question about the CNC machines. Do you know some regulation or legislation in Japan to restrict the export from Japan to other countries like Russia? I was very surprised with the amount of the export, which is 125 million. So please describe about the next step Japan should do for banning the weapon technology. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Elena-san.
Thank you.
Elena-san.
Thank you for your question. Yes, the figure I presented in my PowerPoint is very striking. This means that import to more or less extent continues. The problem is that export control regime is international, and we have a general framework for dual-use goods, Wasana arrangements, and Japan is a part of it. However, Japan, at least according to its legislation, has more strict procedures in terms of export control, given the fact that there were many scandals with export of such technologies. For instance, the well-known Toshiba scandal back during the Cold War. Japan, in theory, has stricter procedures, which requires the producers to track down all of the CNC machines. Because there is the risk they can be and they can end up in their own hands, and this control is usually executed through the navigation sensors which are installed in the CNC machine itself. And also there are more strict procedures with respect to controlling where the goods end up. Like, for instance, a special commission from the producers should come and see the facility where a CNC machine tool will end up. But the problem is that these are the theoretical or legislative norms. However, in practice, Japanese CNC machine tools and components still find their way to the Russian Federation. What should be done next on behalf of Japanese government, and in light of what my distinguished co-speakers said today, the general idea the Economic Security Council of Ukraine promotes is that countries which are leaders of the sector, Japan one of them, ban altogether the export of such technologies, of CNC machines and their components to Russian Federation, regardless of their level of precision or regardless of export control norms. Because if we look at the export control norms, we see that only the most precise CNC machines are included in the spectrum of technologies which are regulated. Some which can provide you with accuracy up to 5 micrometers. And for your understanding, the diameter of a human's hair is 50 micrometers. So these are extremely precise machines that are controlled for, while Russians are using a great degree of less precise CNCs. Moreover, as my colleagues today have highlighted, this is the problem of arms export, and this is the issue of how these technologies are used. Both in the Gaza sector and in Ukraine, people are still dying, civilians are dying because Russia has access to these technologies, which enable it to produce weapons, which it can use against civilians in Ukraine, and to distribute these arms around the world as one of the biggest arms dealers. So while the problem of arms export is incredibly relevant, it also has another dimension where we're talking about technologies which assist in the production of weapons. And CNC machine tools are the most critical component of it. This is why we call for the altogether ban by the Japanese government on export of such technologies to Russia. Also, we call for the expansion of export control norms, the inclusion of all CNC machines, or the majority of them, under the export control regulations, and of course, new legislative approaches by national governments and at the international level to the manufacturers of such technologies, of CNC machines, because right now they have laissez-faire approach where they say if it is not directly prohibited, it is allowed. And it creates a situation where a non-sanctioned military entity or a non-sanctioned procurement company from Russia can still obtain these technologies and will never be held accountable because of the lenient procedures and very moderate persecution practices for the dual use export control violations.
Thank you. I have a question online from Ilgen Yorulmaz. She says, BBC Turkish. Two questions, actually. One is addressed to Ms. Yurchenko, and the other one is for our speakers here. First question is to Ms. Yurchenko. Do you see a contradiction in the position of countries like Turkey, which has close ties to Russia diplomatically, but also supplies drones and other technologies to Ukraine? And for Mr. Sugihara and Imai-san, the movie Oppenheimer has not been showed in Japan. Do you think the screening of this movie might activate Japanese public to oppose even more strongly the nuclear arms race by the nuclear club and other powerful nations? Thank you. Use the mic, please.
Oh, sorry. 1問目はトルコの立場は矛盾していませんかというご質問で、外交的にはロシアと近い一方、ウクライナに対してドローンを含む技術を提供しています。2問目が杉原さんと今井さんに対する質問で、海外では大ヒットとなりました映画オッペンハイマーがいまだに日本では封切られておりませんが、この映画が上映されましたら、日本のその世論はよりその超大国による核軍拡競争に対して反対の意見を唱えるのではないでしょうかと、どう思われますかという質問です。
Please answer first.
先にでは2問目の質問に対して杉原さん、今井さんお答えがあればお願いしたいと思います。
オッペンハイマーニュースとしては知ってるんですが、その実物を見ていないので、なかなかその作品の評価は難しいところはあります。
I've heard of the movie Oppenheimer through news reports, but I haven't seen the movie myself, so it's a little bit difficult for me to share my perspective on it.
しかしですね、現状においてその海外のこの原爆核に対するやっぱり受け止めの表れですから、映画は。それが非常にヒットしたということも含めて考えると、やはり日本でも上映されて、被爆広島長崎を抱える、そして福島の原発事故を抱える日本として、それをやっぱりきちっと受け止める必要があると思います。
Having said that, noting that this movie is an international perspective on nuclear power, and the fact that the movie was a hit leads me to believe that it also should be shown or released in Japan so that the public in Japan can see it and provide a perspective and perhaps to some extent accept it against the backdrop of Hiroshima, Nagasaki atomic bombs and the accident, nuclear accident in Fukushima.
でまさに今、核兵器禁止条約の締約国会議が開かれていますけれども、日本政府はオブザーバー参加さえしていません。
As we speak, the Conference of Parties for a Ban on Nuclear Weapons Treaty is ongoing. Japan does not even have an observer status.
アメリカの核抑止力から離れて核兵器廃絶に日本が役割を果たす、その映画がですね、それを助けるものになればいいなというふうには思っています。以上です。
The outcome would be positive in my mind if the movie can help galvanize Japan to play a role separately of a role in banning nuclear weapons separately from the issue of U.S. nuclear deterrence.
Thank you. Yurchenko-san, Ms. Yurchenko, please answer that question.
Yes. Regarding the Turkish role, I would say that I'm here as a technical expert, not as an international relations expert, but from my experience, I can tell you that the Turkish contradictory stance towards the ongoing Russian aggression against Ukraine is not a precedent, but rather a tendency, because as we can see in many other international situations and conflicts, like, for instance, about the Swedish accession to NATO, before the general election, Erdogan used to use very harsh rhetoric, anti-Western rhetoric, but the moment he was elected, he immediately started to implement some of the Western promoted practices aimed at encouraging Western investors to come to Turkey and save its economy. So in the context of Russian aggression against Ukraine, it's not something I am particularly really flabbergasted, or I didn't expect that. That's not. Moreover, I strongly urge you not to overestimate the degree of Turkish help to Ukraine. Yes, Bayraktar drones, military drones, Turkish companies provide. They were one of the symbols of Ukrainian resistance. But at the same time, if you look at the volume of trade between Russia and Turkey, especially in the energy sector, and the role of Turkey as the hub for sanctions evasion, you understand that these scopes of cooperation are absolutely incomparable and are clearly in favor of Russian Federation. This is related to Turkish foreign policy traditions, to its attempt to be equally distanced from all parties, or at least pretend to its efforts to build itself as a global logistics hub, which is a topic for another discussion. For our today's discussion, we need to understand that Turkey, in the particular context of Russian aggression against Ukraine, is one of the enablers of how dual-use goods find their way to Russian Federation. And if we compare these facts in absolute terms, what Turkey achieved from the perspective of image, by formally denying the annexation of Crimea, and what it in fact has in relations with Russia, namely oil and gas exports and sanctions evasion schemes, which are extremely profitable, we clearly understand that there is no contradiction. There is business and there is assistance in the continuation of Russian aggression against Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please. Yes.
Hello, Gabriel Dominguez, Japan Times. I wanted to ask you, you have expressed opposition against OSA and against Japan's transfer of potentially lethal weapons to other countries. My question is, besides the moral opposition against this move, which basically is against the pacifist tendencies in Japan, do you also have any legal objections against this? Do you think that the government, by doing so, is violating the law? And if so, would you be willing to take legal steps against the government for pursuing OSA or for selling potentially deadly weapons to other countries?
ありがとうございます。そうですね。まずこれは、武器をですね、他国に無償で供与するということが法令あるいは憲法に違反しているかどうかというのはなかなか、ある意味難しい問題だと思います。
I believe it's difficult to say whether the transfer of weapons is against any laws, against the Constitution or not.
つまりそれは武器の輸出そのものは憲法の前文の精神あるいは憲法9条の精神から違反するという憲法学者の方はいらっしゃいますけれども、
There are constitution experts who believe that the export of weapons is in violation of the spirit that's enshrined in the preamble of the Constitution, as well as in that of Article 9.
しかしそれは憲法の精神には違反するけれども、なかなか裁判において違法とあるいは違憲であるという結論が出るというのはなかなか今まで日本の裁判では厳しい状況はあるわけです。
Having said that, looking at past court cases in Japan, it is difficult to draw the conclusion. It seems difficult to draw the conclusion that just because the conduct is against the spirit of the Constitution, that conduct in of itself is unlawful or unconstitutional.
あるいは日本の国際協力ということに関しても、
In the context of Japan's international cooperative or international cooperation efforts,
国際協力に関する基本法あるいは ODA 基本法を作るべきだという議論が1990年代にありましたが、
during the 1990s, there was a debate about drafting a basic law on international cooperation or a basic law on official development assistance.
ただそこでは基本法、法律を制定するということには至りませんでした。
But that effort to legislate the basic act or basic law never came into fruition.
ですから日本が他国に対して武器あるいは軍事インフラを無償で供与するということについては明確に規定している法律がない状態になります。
Right now, there is no law that explicitly addresses weapons transfer and transfer of military infrastructure from Japan to other countries.
ですから私が先ほどプレゼンでお話ししましたように、
As I stated in my presentation,
これは明確に日本の憲法、前文あるいは9条の精神あるいはこれまでの日本の国税、平和国家としての国税に違反すると思いますけれども、法的な枠組みとしてそれを明確に法とする規定ということになると、確かに曖昧な状態が、今までも作られてきていると思います。
As I stated in my presentation, I believe the conduct is in clear violation of the spirit of the Constitution, both the preamble and Article 9, as well as against the pacifism, that's the pacifist constitution which is a national mandate. Having said that, whether though that conduct is in violation of some law, whether it's unlawful, that area remains vague at the moment, ambiguous at the moment.
はい、ただ補足すると、その法律ではないけれども、その開発協力大綱ですとか、あるいは武器、輸出三原則といったような法律ではないけれども、政府が今まで作ってきたさまざまな規定に反するということは明らかなので、そうした規定について政府は、改定を国会ではなく内閣のレベルでしてきているといった現状かと思います。
To add to that, while it's not clearly unlawful, in the context of the Official Development Assistance Charter, as well as the 3 principles of arms exports, both defined, promulgated by the government, it is clear that those rules and possibly others are being violated. And that determination to amend such rules was made by the cabinet and not by the Diet.
Yes.
Thank you for your presentations. Freelance Chie Matsumoto. I have a question for probably Takaki, Imai-san, and Sugihara-san. I know that you guys, with NAJAT and also other probably non-war network, that you do pay visits to private companies that supposedly manufacture weapons and actually export weapons to these places, to the war zones. And I think you have filed requests or in protest the letters. I would like to know, I think you probably did go there a couple of weeks ago and of course in the past too, and I would like to know what reactions you have received from these private companies. And also, if possible, also I think you do talk to the ministries, so I would like to know their reaction. Thank you.
フリーランス通訳者の松本と申します。この質問はおそらく今井さんと杉原さん両名にお二方にお答えいただくことかと思いますが、ご自身の団体 NAJAT また他の団体とも組んで、武器の製造また輸出を紛争地帯への輸出を行っている民間企業を訪問されたりすることもあろうかと思います。抗議を行ったり申し入れをされることが、数週間前にも民間企業を訪問されたと承知してますので、どのような反応があったか教えてください。また省庁の訪問なども省庁に対しての申し入れもされているのであれば、そのあたりも状況についても教えてください。少しずつお話しいただけますか。
ありがとうございます。
Thank you for that question.
一つは次期戦闘機の日本、イギリス、イタリアの共同開発について、それを担う主要な企業に訪問をしました。
One point is that we visited a primary a company that is central to the effort of jointly developing the next generation of fighter jet, which is a joint project between Japan, the UK, and Italy.
これプラカードなんですけれども、
This is our
イギリスの BAE システムズ、イタリアのレオナルド、そして日本の三菱重工を訪問しました。
We visited BAE Systems of the UK, Leonardo of Italy, as well as Mitsubishi MHI, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries.
はい、でこのうちですね、海外の BAE とレオナルドは私たちのアポイントを拒否して要請書の受け取りはしないという態度でした。 で三菱
Of the
はい
three, the two international companies, BAE Systems and Leonardo, refused to see us, and they rejected our offer to submit our petition.
で三菱重工は
They
受
did
け
not,
取りましたけれど
they,
も
they did not accept our petition, while MHI did accept
警備員が受け取るという
our petition, but only
そうい
by
う
their
対応
guard.
です。
Only the guard accepted or received our petition.
はい、今、日本が5年で43兆円の軍事費を拡大しようとしています。
Japan is slated to expand its defense spending by 43 trillion yen during the next 5 years.
こうした欧米の軍事企業がアジアの拠点を日本に移す、そういう動きも強まっています。
There is an increasing trend for Western military companies to set up posts in the Asian region.
日本の世論をしっかりと受け止めるべきだと思っています。
I believe that those companies should take heed to the public opinion in Japan.
でもう一点はですね、
Another point,
イスラエルによる今ガザのジェノサイドが起きていますけれども、
is related to the genocide by Israel in Gaza.
イスラエルの最も大きな軍事企業であるエルビットシステムズというのがあります。
There is a company called Elbit Systems, which is one of the largest military companies in Israel.
このエルビットの日本への武器の売り込みを日本エアークラフトサプライと伊藤忠アビエーションが、支援する、提携するということを決めています。
A decision has been made for Japan aircraft aircraft. Once again, a decision has been made by Japan Aircraft Supply and Itochu Aviation to support Elbit Systems foray into the Japanese market for sales of its weapons.
で、この2社と伊藤忠アビエーションの親会社の伊藤忠商事を訪問しました。
We visited those two companies in Japan as well as the parent company of Itochu Aviation, which is Itochu KK.
はい、要請アポイントを受けたのは伊藤忠アビエーションのみでした。
The only company to accept our request for an appointment was Itochu Aviation.
ただし対応としてはですね、担当者は、各社3社そうですけれども、契約を見直すつもりはないと言明しました。
However, the response was, as it was the case for all three companies, that there is no consideration to revisit the contract. There are no plans, rather, to revisit the contract.
伊藤忠アビエーションの担当者は、日本を守るために、契約をしているというふうに、開き直ったと
The
いうことで
working
す。
level person or the person who spoke with us at Itochu Aviation said this is done to protect Japan.
とりあえず以上です。
That's all for now.
じゃあ私から省庁についてお話をしますと、
I would like to speak about the ministries or ministry.
OSA の主管は外務省になります。
The OSA is governed by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
で、私たち NGO と外務省の間では国際協力に関して、政策協議の場をこれまで、ずっと20年にわたって持ってきました。
NGOs like us and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs have engaged in policy discussions. 政策協議とします。
政策協議。
Policy discussions over 20 years.
この政策協議の場で、この OSA について外務省に質問、議論をしようとしたところ、外務省は、ODA については議論をしてきたけれども、OSA は ODA 開発協力とは違うという理由で、議論は拒否されました。
In the course of such policy discussions, we attempted to raise the topic of the OSA. In response, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that the OSA is different from the ODA, and therefore they refused to engage in a discussion about the OSA.
そこで別の枠組みで、国会議員を通じて外務省に来ていただいて意見交換は行いました。
So another forum, another opportunity was set up with parliamentarians involved and inviting the Ministry of Foreign Affairs officials, and there they did engage in the discussion.
そこでは外務省は日本の非軍事原則は ODA には適用されるけれども OSA には適用されないということを何度も繰り返し強調していました。
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs officials at that forum or opportunity indicated several times that Japan's non-military position is applied to the official development assistance, but not to the OSA, official security, not to the official security assistance, which was emphasized several times.
日本の平和主義は何ら変更はないと外務省は言っていましたが、現在のこの複雑な、ウクライナですとか、台湾有事です、台湾有事ですとか、そういった複雑な国際環境の中で OSA は推進すべきであるという考えを、外務省は強調していたということになります。
Well, the MOFA official stated that Japan's pacifist position remains unchanged in light of the complexities in the world right now, including Ukraine and Taiwan contingencies. OSA は、もう一回繰り返して。
その複雑な国際環境の中で必要不可欠であると。
OSA would be vital.
Thank you. I think we reached time, but I would like to pose the last two questions. One is for Ms. Olena. How do you evaluate the Japanese military assistance to Ukraine? Do you want more military assistance from Japan? We know that Japan donated some materials can be used in military or in war. So how do you evaluate that? And my question to Mr. Imai and Mr. Sugihara. What is the level of public support or opposition to your case, lifting or imposing more stricter ban on exporting arms? How much the public and the parliamentarians support or oppose this? Is it like small group of activists against this and the rest of Japan society doesn't care or support expanding the arms sales? Thank you. Please, Olena-san, please start.
Thank you for your question. However, here I speak as a Ukrainian mainly, not an expert on foreign military assistance. From what I know, the Japanese help to Ukraine has been primarily concentrated and characterized by financial and humanitarian sectors. Yes, there have been donations of some materials, but as far as I am concerned, still the main military supporters would be United States and some European countries. However, of course, as a Ukrainian citizen and understanding the complexities of the situation on the ground, I would strongly urge our allies around the world to support Ukrainian struggle no matter what, because this is not about the protraction of the conflict. This is about helping Ukraine win and helping to build a new system of security, which mitigates the threat from the Russian Federation, and it has direct chain of connections with other conflicts around the globe, which Russian allies would like to flare up and instigate, including we all know, at least policy analysts say that China is very closely following the Western response to the Russian aggression against Ukraine to understand the potential reactions in case of escalation in Taiwan, Iran, the same thing. So yes, I would very much support if Japan provided military assistance or any kind of assistance to Ukraine. However, in light of what we discussed and what my colleagues today said, I would say that this comes with huge costs and sometimes discussions within the respective government, and maybe definitely a deeply contestable issue with respect to whether we should engage militarily, I mean Japanese ones, and if this can be interpreted as direct engagement or just facilitation. I understand that there can be many legal and contract and very debating issues there. So for the starters, I would say that Japan should, first of all, properly enforce the existing sanctions and ban the export of dual-use technologies to Russia, because this is much cheaper, much easier, and less contradictory in the light of what we discussed today. The key thing is there, if you're not able or you hesitate to provide military assistance, is to deprive Russia of possibility to produce weapons itself. And this is precisely where Japanese dual-use technologies come in hand, like the ones we discussed today, CNC machine tools. So we understand that countries around the world may be in solidarity with Ukraine, but may not be able to express this solidarity in the most radical forms. However, for the starters, this particular denial of dual-use technologies, it would be still very beneficent and very acute in the battlefield, because Russian armament goes on right now, and these arms are produced with Japanese CNCs included. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sugihara, Mr. Imai.
お二方へのご質問になりますが、武器のその日本からの輸出に関して、その解除に関し、禁輸の解除に関して、どのくらい広く支持があるのか、感触だけでも分かるでしょうか。一般人の間でどちらかというと賛成あるいは反対なのか、それとも一部の活動家だけの間の議論で大半の人は無関心なのか、国会議員も含めてですね、立場はどうでしょうか。
はい、ありがとうございます。まず世論なんですけれども、今までさまざまな新聞、テレビがこの殺傷武器の輸出についての是非を調査してきましたけれども、大体6割から7割が反対です。
Various news outlets, newspapers, and television stations have surveyed the public opinion about the pros and cons of exporting lethal weapons. The response has been 60 to 70% against the idea.
で、国会の政党で見るとですね、野党第一党の立憲民主党は、武器の共同開発は理解するけれども、殺傷武器の輸出には反対という立場です。
Turning now to the parliamentarians, by party, the leading opposition party, the Constitutional Democratic Party, is in favor of finds that joint development is inevitable, but against the export of lethal weapons.
ただ、ですから、殺傷武器の輸出の問題を国会で追及している議員は非常に少ない、今の国会の大きなテーマになっていないのが現状です。
The current situation is such that there is only a handful of legislators addressing the issue of lethal weapons in the Diet. It's not even on the table in the Diet sessions right now.
ですからやっぱり世論を背景にもっと国会でしっかりと議論して歯止めをかけてほしいと思っています。
I'm hoping that there will be a robust discussion and an effort to stop this initiative by reflecting a public opinion.
はい、OSA での武器の供与については NGO、海外で活動している NGO の中では非常に反対の声が強いです。
Very strong opposition by NGOs who are active abroad internationally about weapons provision through the OSA framework.
ただ一般の市民ということでいうと、マスコミでは大きく取り上げられてはいませんし、大半の方があまり知らないというのが現状かと思います。
As for the general public, the fact that the media has not covered this in great detail. So for the most part, the situation is that the public is not aware of this issue.
国会議員について言えば、特に立憲民主党、共産党の議員さんは、OSA に大きく関心を持って反対されている方はいらっしゃいますけれども、殺傷土器と同じかもしれませんが、そういった、国会の中で大きな論戦とか、になっているところまでは行っていないので、私たちも働きかけは今後も続けていこうと思っています。
As for the legislators, the Constitutional Democratic Party and the Communist Party have shown interest in the OSA and have demonstrated, some of them, opposition about it. But the issue of lethal weapons, as mentioned, is yet to become a major debate in the Diet at all, and we will continue to fight for it.
Thank you very much for staying over time. This wraps up our event today. I would like to thank Ms. Olena Yurchenko for your insights and for participating from Ukraine, and we wish peace prevails in your country. And also a big thanks to Mr. Takaki Imai and Mr. Koji Sugihara for your insights. And please, ladies and gentlemen, please give them a big applause for your. Thank you very much.
ありがとうございました。Thank you very much.
Have a nice evening. Thanks.
Bye.
So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.